Uh, Hi everyone. Like we have completed already EAP and then other things, right? So now today we're gonna have the session all about Amazon machine image. So just like when you want to have your operating system installed on your machine, right? That could be your desktop or laptop in the way when you're studying, right? You will carry that CD DVD image and then you put it to your DVD drive and then you boot your machine and then install new operating system, right? And also in VMware you will actually have a OS profile and then you select what kind of OS that you require. That could be Linux or Windows. So this is we call as OS image and maybe VMware VM image. The same way Amazon just named that operating system image as Amazon machine image. So the machine image, right? It decides what operating systems and sometimes what of softwares you will get by default when you used Amazon machine image. So just to explain you here, when you go to launch instance, right? When you come to EC2 here, and then when you go to launch instance, all you see here is Amazon machine image. See here, choose an Amazon machine image. So again, these are all quick start. So Amazon Linux, SUSE Linux, these are all, and these are all my AMIs. My AMIs is nothing but if you have any AMI created. So if you have any Amazon machine image created, you that will be displayed here. This is total marketplace. Okay, so you have around 1646 products, which is software and infra, and then developer tools 450, and business software something like business intelligence collaboration tools like Jira, Confluence. So all these things are ready-madely available for you. So what usually happens, right? So this is also a kind of business. If you are really good at cooking these images, right, you can choose certain operating systems and you can actually power those softwares inside that operating system and you can configure it well, and then you can actually follow that policies and rules that you need to follow to create a global AMI, which is nothing but you can also make your own AMI and then you can put that into marketplace. So just like you have some the ratings, right? See here, rating. So if you have a good rating, you choose a good hotel in hotels.com or Trivago, you will have reviews the same way. When you put a good quality of image by configuring a lot of things there, uh, somebody based on this rating or somebody based on that need actually cook your image. I mean, they take your image and then bake it. So when they bake it, they will have that all configurations and softwares installed in your AMI will be coming to them by default. So you can actually add a price on it. See here, they say apart from the EC2 instance compute machine, they might charge you 1.37 for the ETL Amazon Redshift. Okay, so they have Splunk. So this is something nothing but BYOL. Bring your own license. Let's say you have bought a your own licenses for Splunk from somewhere the provider, and when you spin this instances, right, you will have already a Splunk installed. You can go apply your license and use it. So it's all pretty easy, and you can put your own tag. So it is nothing but for Splunk customers. So if say Splunk want to say that I am giving this instances to you, that means I have my cooked images or baked images ready in Azure, ready in AWS. You can go use there, and but you can buy license from me manually, so that you pay money, I give you license, apply that license in cloud. So you guys got it, right? They make things ready, so easily you can use this thing and then you can spin it. This is nothing but AMI. So the use of AMI is this: you choose operating system, any operating system. This operating system by default will have nothing, right? And you apply some software onto it. Okay, once you applied a software into it, you have an instance and you applied a software, and then you actually create an image out of it. When you create an image out of it, it is nothing but you are creating an AMI. Once you created AMI, right, next time create another EC2 instance, but select, instead of selecting Red Hat here, select the your AMI which you have created and log into it and check whether you have that particular service is already installed or not. It's about it. But most of the times what happens, when you bake your own image, right, you will have everything installed, but the services will not be started. Okay, services will not be started. You may have to go manually restart it, but you can also configure the way whenever you do it, by default it has to start the services. Okay, just be for that I have made so a template for root volume for the instance, for example operating system and application server application. Let's say, okay, let me put this way: you have a database SQL server or database MySQL, or you have some web application. What happens, right, whenever you want to, let today you have three servers, you want to have a fourth server, right? How did you configure that three servers? You have actually launched some EC2 instances, and you have actually installed few softwares onto it. But again, you don't want to take that overhead of installing again the same stack into the fourth instance. See, if that is the, then you are not progressing with your work, and you are not making anything quick. So that time what you do, you create one particular instance and configure it very well, and then create image out of it and keep it aside. And whenever you want another instance, you just go with the image that you created. By default you will get every application that you want to. Did you guys get it? Are you guys following me? Say yes or no, maybe. Guys, we are not liking the session, at least the way that we all want it. Yes or no?
Probably, I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
yes, yes. Practical session would be
Yeah, yeah, sure,
useful,
sure,
I
sure.
think.
Definitely, we'll be doing it. See here, find an image which is nothing but the default image or any image that we are doing, and customize an existing AMI. Customizing is nothing but install some MySQL, install some Nginx, which is web server, do something, and build an AMI from scratch. Yeah, whether you can also build your AMI from scratch. So, and also build the AMI. So you take image out of it. Once you take image out of it, and now launch instances of your AMI. Instead of selecting Red Hat or Amazon Linux, select the AMI, Pavan AMI or somebody else's Vijay AMI, Vikrant, somebody, and then you launch your instance. And now admin and use your instances. Now you have your own instance, right? Now what we'll do is we will just spin and create an EC2 machine. These are all steps that we're gonna do. Check. We will have Nginx is nothing but a web server. By default Nginx will not be there, but in your marketplace if you go, you can you may get it. So let me just go to marketplace. I'll just type here Nginx. Somebody would have already see here Nginx plus. So they've somebody has, because this is web server, they've already made some they've made a good configuration, and they're selling it. See, for that they're charging 13 cents per hour. So 13 cents is pretty good, right? For every hour somebody is getting 13 cents is very very good. Let's say you have an application, you're using 100 instances, then he is making $13, which is really good money. So that is how and okay, we'll first log into one instance and then check whether Nginx is installed or not. Okay, I want to make you a proof that that is not exist, and then we will install it. After we install it, we will try whether Nginx is responding to us or not, and then we will create an image out of it, and then we will image out of it, and then we will have an EC2 instance created from the our own AMI, and then log into that and see whether it is installed, already installed or not. Are you guys good? Are you guys up for the practical session then?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is EC2. So I'm on my EC2. I'm just launching some maybe Red Hat. Yeah, maybe I'll go with Ubuntu. Sometimes softwares are more freely available on Ubuntu. So configure. So don't worry about which VPC I'm logging in, whether I'm doing anything. Don't really worry about it. So I have what I want to make sure is the public IP is important for me. Now, any other things are at least at this moment is pretty vague for us, pretty trivial. what actually happened. Okay, if something has closed here, freed here, Ubuntu or configured this VPC, terminate, and public IP is enabled here. Add storage, add tags. Ubuntu, okay, security group. So I have a security group has for me, okay, by default, this security group. Let me just go with the existing security group. I may want to add review and launch here, and then I have AWS. Before that, I wanted to make sure that I have that key or not. Okay, I have this key, which is CD AWS. Okay, not this. I think I'll have to see where I have that key. Before that, I don't want to launch AWS. My God. Okay, I have this. Good. So now I'm going to select this yes and launch instance. Okay. Once it is launched, let's wait till we have that particular get into that running state, right? Meanwhile, I wanted to make sure cd ls hyphen l aws pm ls hyphen l aws. Okay, yeah, we good now. So by this time it should have been running again. See, I'm trying little advanced, little fast than I should be trying. See, whenever it has 2 by 2 here, you should be able to connect, but sometimes it allows us to connect pretty fast than we think. So I'm just trying now. SSH hyphen I AWS PEM text and Ubuntu is the user. By default we get for Ubuntu. Yes. Okay, sudo su this is one. Okay, now I'm on that particular instance. Now I wanted to do something. I'm taking this IP. Okay, I'm just taking this IP. See, I'm gonna create a Nginx. Nginx is nothing but a web server. When we have successfully installed Nginx onto any machine, and when we have service, Nginx service is running, that time it acts as a web server. So if I put this IP into browser, right? So nothing is coming. Anything is coming, guys? We're getting nothing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in our Skype group. So just put it into your browser now. So right away put it into your browser and then see if you're getting any response. You're not getting any response, right? Just confirm me quickly, guys. So mostly what happens, right? No, none of you got response, which is good sign. So that means either Nginx service is not at all existed on that particular server, or else Nginx is not Nginx might have installed and Nginx is not running, right? So that could be the situation. Now we are onto that particular server. How do we search any Nginx is installed or not? We can either cat okay ls etc nginx. See here, nothing is coming. So I have nothing is coming, right? Okay, I have so many files, but there is nothing called nginx here. And you can actually come to Google and type nginx config location. If you say nginx config location, they say usr local nginx conf, right? and etc nginx. So I have checked etc nginx, which is not there. So just to be sure, we'll also check cd usr local and nginx. See, no such file or directory, right? So that means there is nothing. And you can also make sure service nginx status, or maybe the command is wrong. You see here, nginx.service not found, no such file or directory. Did you guys get it? Are you good with it? Any problem now, guys? Are you following me or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
Pavan.
Yes.
yeah, good. So I'm just now what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna update my repository. This is some OS related command. Okay. Apt update. So it's like I'm updating my repository. Clear. Now see, if you see this hash sign, that is nothing but your root. If you are into dollar sign, that is nothing but your user. Okay. Root will have almost good permissions, admin privileges. Dollars will not have the permissions assigned to you, based on the groups that you are part of. Okay. So if you really want to install now, you can just type. If you are into dollar sign, you always have to put sudo there, because for that particular command you are becoming admin. But if you are already admin, no point in typing sudo again. So now apt get. So apt get is a command. In CentOS you use yum command, and here apt get is a command. Apt get install nginx. Okay. Apt get install nginx. See here, it'll either ask me, do you want to, if it has software available in the system, it'll ask you want me to go ahead, yes or no. If it is not available, what we'll do, we'll just go to Google and we'll get the repository, and then we'll have it added and install it. Okay. Hopefully it should be. See here, yes or no. Okay. Are you getting yes or no? You want to continue, so it is software is available. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control C here. So I don't want this to be asked. I'm pressing Control C. Now I'm typing the same command and -y. Okay. -y is nothing but you are by defaultly telling it to install without asking. Okay. Now it is asking, it is asking you to make a decision, but -y is nothing but you're telling it is yes, you already made a decision. Okay, just for because you guys wanted to learn Linux, so I'm just telling. Enter. So now the software should be installed. Okay, it is installed. Now I'm clearing it. So now earlier when we did write service nginx status,
Stated.
it says what it said. So no such file or directory, and it is unable to found that, right? So now it is running also. Now take the IP which you have already. Just refresh it. Refresh it or put it in another tab. Sometimes this cache or bloody things will take. Maybe let me start the Nginx here. Okay. Okay. No problem. So service Nginx restart, and now put. And if this is not the case, I think we must have a problem with the security group, which we should be fixing it. Okay. Anyways, we made a proof that it is not installed, right? We checked and we made a proof that it is not installed. Anyways, so let's get to the security group and test it. Okay, see here, inbound we've allowed all ICMP, but we haven't allowed HTTP traffic. So any traffic which is coming from browser is nothing but HTTP traffic. So you should add a rule, HTTP. This is secure, not HTTPS. We should add HTTP. and the by default the port number which this Nginx takes is 80, right, mostly. So now you type in that. Do you see the space? Do you guys also can confirm now?
Yes, yes, Pavan, I got it.
So this is nothing but web server. Web server mostly global to anybody. So you all are able to see this welcome to Nginx page. So instead of this, you can actually host your own application, and which will be shown. Very powerful Nginx. So now we've actually what the steps that we should be following. Create an EC2 machine, check Nginx is this is done first, and second is done. Install Nginx is done. Check Nginx service done, right?
Yes.
Now create an image of running EC2 instance and fire an instance with our own image. Now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and come to your EC2 instance and right click image and create image. Do you guys see here? You come to the EC2 instance running here, come to image and create image. See, be noted, whenever you're creating an image, right, it will be created with EBS volume. So whatever the current size of your, let's say you have some 1 TB or 500 GB is attached to your instance. So but the size of the instance will also be 500 GB disk. So even though you are using or you're not using, doesn't matter. So it'll make a copy of the existing size of the system. So create an image. I'm just creating an image now, and image name. I'll just see my AMI. Okay, image description AMI class. Okay, see here 8 GB, because by default we had 8 GB there. It is showing 8 GB. You get it? Yes or no, guys? You can add another volume if you want to, but I'm not gonna add it. So create image. If you click create image, slowly it should show you an extra EBS volume, and it should show you in AMIs. It is creating for you. It's pending, right? Do you guys see it? I'm gonna quickly stop recording because we don't want to waste. So now we've got that AMI created here. So now what we'll be doing is, let's go to EBS volumes. The size of this should be 8. So it will show you when and where, and this is AMI ID. It will create AMI ID and everything. Permissions, if you want to set the permissions, right, you can do set those permissions here. And tags, if you want to add any tag, right, you can add tag. So tag is nothing but, see, whenever you're creating any instance or any resource, you give tag, because whenever you're working on CloudFormation or Python automation, right, you can say any tag which is matching this particular Ubuntu or this particular name, terminate. So that time it is very powerful with just a script, right? Because you have tags associated with every resource, you really don't have to go into each and every resource and terminate it. It's just like that. You can apply also modifications, right? Tags are really powerful. So let's say when you're going to a project, right, you will have a tag defined for that project, and for every instance which you think based on the requirements and conditions, you apply a tag there. And you can actually through CLIs or automate write an automation to stop an account, and then sorry, to stop that particular resource or terminate resource. Okay, leaving this housekeeping stuff aside, we've got AMI created now. We have one EC2 running. I'm gonna create another EC2. See here, I'm not gonna select anything here. I'm going to select my AMIs. Did you guys see my AMIs here? I write description as AMI class here. The owner is should be me. Okay, owner should be me. Let me just also see, just for the sake of seeing it, how it will give us the owner. 437. See here, the account ID it has given 1343514244437, right? See here, because I'm the person, I'm the root user, I'm not the AMI user, so it has taken the account ID. So select now, I'm selecting this. So by default it has 8 GB selected, and I'm not going to do anything. Terminate, and then public IP will be coming by default. Where do you want to launch? I'm again launching into that particular VPC, and add storage. So I'm not going to add, I'm leaving it to defaults. I'm going to add tag, right? Name my AMI EC2. Okay, just for the sake of knowing it, the difference. I'm launching it to the same test because 80 should be ready, right? Whenever we put. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you, previous, previous. Do you guys see something here? Advanced details in the first configuration. Do you see user data here, right? So user data is nothing but it's like a bootstrapping. Whenever you want to execute any commands before Amazon is before the EC2 is completely running, you can write it here. Any command, like now I wanted to say service, because sometimes what happens, Nginx may be not started though it is installed. I'm gonna put something like this. uh, I forgot that the shell script. This one I'm gonna user data for Nginx. Okay, this one I forgot actually. Okay, this one I want. So I just want see, this is like you are telling script where is the bash. So this is bash scripting, right? Now you can put service Nginx. um, 1 second guys, my parents are calling me, sorry. Okay, so like this is user data is nothing but this bin bash. You are telling where the bash is available, and service Nginx restart, and I'm gonna tell sudo because sometimes it will be user, right? So this is what I'm gonna execute. Add storage, and then add tags, and then security group. I've selected the security groups. Review launch, and then launch instance. Launch failed. Okay, let's just see. Invalid. Okay, because the user data is not right. Okay, some problem with that. One second. uh, so we've just changed this particular user data from bin bash, and this sudo absolute path, and let's just try if this works or not. This is just to explore how actually user data will work. Instance. So without the user data, I've just removed the user data, and then we are moving ahead, and then so we have this instance running now. Should be available in a minute or under a minute. First, let's get into that particular server and see whether it is installed or not. So like I said, sometimes what happens, the service may not be up and running immediately. So we'll just put it the IP address here, the public IP. See here. So this is already started, right? It is available. So I will be pinging you that IP name. So make use of that IP and confirm me that it is running or not. Hello. So you see, this is like your local AMI. Let's say if you want to use your AMI within the project, like if we take this IP now and put it here. So this is working without doing anything. We haven't really put user data also, but still it is working. So it is good sign that it is working. So these images that we've done, right, these are all nothing but a local images which is inside our account. So we can also make AMI, how to create a global AMI AWS. So copying an image, so there is, see here, cross region copy. You can also make this available. Maybe you can put it into S3 and then from S3 you can pull it into another region, something like that. And making an AMI public. So if you want to create a public AMI, you will have to have do these things. If you do these things, right, there are some steps available. If you make all this, you can maybe put into marketplace, or else how to AMI AWS marketplace. So something like that. You can create your own AMI and then put it into marketplace. So you can find these things on website. So this is AMI, guys. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna terminate these two instances because there's no use now. I'm gonna terminate this session, this EC2 instances. Yes, terminate. And we also don't want this AMI, right? With this AMI, we're not going to use this AMI. So any time that you wanted to delete AMI, first thing, if you want to delete AMI, you need to first deregister it. Deregister it. Once you deregister it, then if you, one second. So an error occurred attempting to deregister because this is already deregistered. We've already clicked once, right? So it is trying to deregister. So this is not taking the second operation. So sometimes what happens, it takes a little time to show us that action has been taken or not. So let's leave that. So it is being terminated now. So this should also will be gone. This should also go now. We'll just try one more time. After deregister, so it has taken the action, so no problem. So after that we can go there and delete it. So now what we gonna see is okay, before that, do you guys have any questions about this? Any questions or any doubts? Yes or no? Maybe not liking the sessions. Okay.
Pavan, for like when you say AMI, you're just taking a snapshot of that image, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. That is the
Oh,
right English word I should be using before telling anything, but I didn't use that. Sorry about it. So it's
no
like
worries.
taking the runtime or current subset of the current set of the data and putting it as an image and using it. So that is a right way of telling actually. So it is like whenever you have everything is installed, you're taking snapshot but for particular time and then keeping it and then using it in real time. So this
Okay,
is, yeah,
for example, so if this AMI is there,
yeah,
next time if I have to spin up any other 3 or 4 instances, I can use the same EMI, the image, isn't it, for the three of the
yeah,
instances?
that's right. That is the purpose of doing this, right?
Okay.
So you will have one image installed, deployed, configure, and keeping that image ready. And then whenever you want to use your own application, you use that AMI. This is the purpose of it. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna see about S3. Okay, S3 is nothing but a simple storage service. Okay, like I think we've already covered the EBS. So see, S3 is an object storage. It's like your Google Drive, Dropbox, and your storage, right? It is not like block device. Block device is nothing but attached to your instance. so which is like your EBS volume, which is like your external hard disk that you're carrying. So you can actually make file systems on top of it. So now normally in Windows you use NTFS, and in Linux you use ext3, ext4, so ZFS. So these are all the file systems that you create on block devices, block storages. But you tend to not create file systems on top of these object storages, and everything that you store on object storages is treated as objects. Okay, everything that you store inside S3's objects, inside S3 is treated as object because it's an object storage. So like last time I've shown you this is the URL that you can actually go ahead and see the differences. That is the normal differences which we've discussed it already. So where is that S3? Okay, S3, right? S3 life cycle. If you want to, so don't really think of this. If you really want to use S3, right, you should actually create a bucket. A bucket is nothing but a bucket is an entity where you are creating your own space. So that means whatever the object or file or folder that you have created inside the bucket is limited to that bucket. You are setting the scope actually. So it's like your folder in your drive. When you have Google account, when you have a Google Drive, right, you create folders, right? The same way within your AWS account, you'll have to create. You should go to S3 and then you should create buckets, and then within the bucket you should keep the this objects and everything. Okay, so bucket naming conventions. There is some naming convention for bucket. You should always start with a character, and after that you can actually I mean alphabetical. You after that you can actually have special characters if you want to, but you cannot start a bucket name with special characters, something like that. Okay, these things are little trivial. So what I wanted to tell you is and bucket name should be unique throughout the region. So when somebody have the bucket with the same name, you cannot have the same name again. Okay, so it is always good practice to have your company name, something like your company name hyphen your project name hyphen your application name, something like that. So combinations of these three should be unique. So we can create like that, and also you can actually give global permissions to it. So that means the good thing and the very good thing about very good thing about S3 is you can actually host static websites. Let's say dynamic websites are nothing but you create some PHP applications, right? But HTML pages, CSS pages, these are all static web pages. So whenever you enter into a website, pretty much it is about my company. And if you go to founders, there is a page like founders do not change every day, do not change every minute, right? Founders will be always be there. And then the services that you are offering, so you are a software company or you are a hospital or whatever you do, these are all static, pretty much static. So all these pages are static, so you can actually put these static HTML pages and then you can create your own website. Okay, and also there is something called versioning. So you can also enable versioning. See, I'm telling all this, this is just like a theory, and all this we gonna get completed in real time. So there is something called versioning. You know versioning, right? You can have the same file, maybe slightly changed file again, and you will still have the previous file. So but what versioning does, it will create a separate version. It's like the, if you have a file name called one, or if you have an application and if you make some changes to that file within that file, and again you put that file into S3, it will maintain two copies of it, the previous copy and the latest copy. Whatever the copy you want, you can take it. But again, to have versioning, you should manually go enable that versioning, then only you will have. Okay, And again, there are three types of S3. One is frequent access, which is by default, and another one is infrequent access, which not by default. See here. Now let's just get into S3. So create bucket. I'm creating a bucket, Pavan. Let's see whether it creates me bucket or not. So this, see, even though this is global, for the sake of keeping it, we will just keep it. This one. Um, you can also mention the copy. If you have any other bucket, if you want to create a clone of it, you can still do it. So Pavan should not be there. Bucket name already exists because Pavan, there are a lot of people with the name Pavan, right? So they would have created a Pavan bucket and they are not letting us. They haven't deleted that. If they would have deleted that, I should have been able to create that. So what I'm gonna do it, uh, class bucket. Let's just try. See here, it is also there. So AWS, because there are so many people. See here, this is also there. So that is why somebody has actually. So see here, AWS class bucket. These are all, it is already there because there are many classes of many people. So instead of that, I want to create Pavan, my last name, and then AWS hyphen class, something like that. So I at least think that they should be unique because I haven't created anything. So we are able to create, right. So if you want to version, right, you can go enable version here while creating itself. If you want server access logging, it's like create, you are allowing log files to be created on an S3, object level logging, tags, default encryption. And again, there is something called encryption. If you enable encryption, everything will be encrypted. You will have to create a, see here, server side encryption with, if somebody wants to read it, there will be a key, with that it is able to read, but let's not do anything such. So I'm going with default now. See here, this is what I, and you can make sure I'm the owner, and obviously read write, are you giving permissions, read write permissions for this user, you can actually set. And you can also set the grant public read access to this bucket. So by default a bucket is private, but if you make this one public read access, then it will be it will be like a public bucket. So make sure whenever you require, then only you would give it. Obviously if you want to host a static website, so website is nothing but anybody can access with the internet, right? You should have a read access, but instead of giving it here, we will go inside the bucket and we will try with that. Okay, so next, one second, I wanted to tell you there is yeah, next. Okay, we have created a bucket, right? So we've actually created a bucket now. Let's get into this. So first you sign up for S3, like AWS account, go S3, create a bucket, add an object, view an object, move an object, delete an object. So this is all simple thing that we do. It's like a folder. You can put a file, you can remove a file, you can change permissions to it, and you can delete file, you can move from one folder to one folder. So I've created this. Did you guys see here public access? This is non-public access. You guys see it? So I'm going to within that particular bucket, and there is nothing. So you can upload few things here. So I'm selecting what I did was upload here and then add files. Second, I've created some HTML files already. I'm trying to, I wonder where have I put it. So maybe here, downloads.html. Okay, so error.html and .index.html, choose these two files. I'm putting it, and also I'm also I've uploaded that. Okay, error is uploaded. So let me now put index.html. Where is that? Yeah, I've put that. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. There is something called storage class, standard class, which is like you will have access just like that, and infrequent access. And see, if you are not able, if you are not using S3 for any applications, and you don't really have to make your data available within milliseconds or within second, right? So you, let's say every, this after you upload, right, data will not be available in milliseconds. Let's say you are making an API call immediately after you upload an object. If you choose standard infrequent access, you are not accessing it frequently. So you don't realize that there is a big difference, but there is some difference. So if you select standard infrequent access, then you will pay less than actual usual charge. And reduce redundancy, let's say you have duplicate files, right? It will reduce redundancy for your bucket. For that they charge you something. So, and this is master key, and this KMS is another service. There you'll have to create key, and that key you use for encryption. I'm now keeping it none. So these things, it's all okay. So now standard, I'm going with this defaults, and next, and upload. I have this error file and upload file. So there are another couple of files that I have here. Okay, these two things I should actually need. JPGs, two JPG files I need, because I use that images .jpg, because these images I've used inside that HTML files. So we should have that. Without that, we cannot really have that website. So by this way, we are now knowing how do we put. So by this, we are now knowing how do we upload the image. Just like this is very pretty easy. And if you want to create a folder, you can create a folder within that class. Save. So you have this folder. If you want to move an object from here, you can move. You can just like copy, going there, sorry, paste, paste. Just that's it. So, and again, if you want to delete, right click, go select, delete. You guys are getting it, right? You following me? And because all you have is this, and if you go to your S3 now, you're still seeing your uh, bucket as non-public. And now you go within your bucket and come to, don't go to any this now. I wanted to make this as give permissions, public access, yes, everyone. I'm giving list objects, and maybe read bucket permissions. Okay, I'm just giving read permissions to anybody. Once you are given that permissions, right, if you come to your bucket, it shows you public, because you gave read access to everybody. Because you gave read access to everybody, obviously it will become public. So now you get into here. Now we will host a website on this, and we will also have versioning covered slightly after this. And now I wanted to first see, even though you have read permissions for this particular bucket, sometimes all this may not have. So you better go there, permissions, read, yeah, one grant is, that means only for owner they have granted. So it's always better you go to that particular object and give permissions for read permission, at least public access, read, read, save. Like that, you need to put it to every file, because it is a website, right? Obviously, for website, for the website, obviously you need to make it global. Okay, so now what you need, you have given, you made your bucket public, and you also made read permissions to the public. You have given internet read operations, but how they know that there is something, right? They should be able to access it. So for that, you should actually come to properties, and not everything is disabled here. You just need to click static website hosting, click on here and disable website hosting. Instead of that, you put use this bucket host website. Now I've just named it as index.html and error.html, but these names can be anything. So it can be pavan.html, it can be something, some x.html, anything. But whatever you give here, right, it should be, this html page should be present in that bucket, and that particular file should have public access. So then only you can actually do it, and this can be accessed here. So once you save, see here, this is a web page, right? I'm going to just ping you the web page link. So can you just quickly click on that link and see if you are able to access that particular website? Can you confirm me quickly?
Yes,
Yes.
Pavan.
Yeah, so now, yeah, what I'm gonna say is, let's say I want to change this name, right? Index. I am giving, okay, something, right? Because this index.html is there in the bucket, but there is some nothing called index 67is, right? Just want to make sure error also works. So saved it, and now you go click here. What happened? Page not found, right? So now you access the same file and confirm me whether are you able to access the website. It should give page not found page to you.
Yeah.
So because this is all because this is not present. So if I change the same name with the file name, then it should work. So this is all about how do you host a static website. So now I'm just keeping it as it is. Now do you see here any hide button or show hide button? There is nothing called show or hide button here, right? And if you go to the click and here properties, you can see nothing here. Standard encryption metadata tags here. But now what I'm gonna do is, I'm again gonna go to properties, and I'm gonna disable this website hosting. Now the URL, can you confirm URL is working or not? It should not work anything now. See here, it is showing no authorization or no such website configuration. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm going to properties, and I'm gonna say versioning. Okay, are you guys understanding, guys following me, yes or no, guys? Quickly.
Yes, Pavan.
Yeah, I'm gonna get properties. I'm already in the bucket. I'm gonna get properties. I'm just gonna go to versioning, and then I'm enabling versioning, and then saving it. Once I've enabled version, see, if you enable versioning after you uploaded an object, the versioning starts working only. See, I'm going to disable versioning now, not going to enable. So okay, anyways it is disabled. Let's say if I upload the same file, see here, error.html feb 3 2018 340 47 340. Now the time is 350. Let me just upload the same file now. Error.html. See, if I upload the same file again, this will be overwritten. Okay. See here now, 340:47, it become 350:57 because when I uploaded that was the time. So this will be overwritten if you don't have versioning enabled. But if, let's say, if I have, I'm gonna enable versioning and saving it. So the versioning is enabled now, and now confirm versioning is enabled. Now let me see here now, hide and show. So there is show button here. Show will show you all version of that particular file. So for every object, it has every object and in how many files that you have done. See here, it has created a version, but it has created null because you have uploaded it second time. Now let me upload hide. Let me upload another same file, error.html. Okay. See here, even though you see only one here, but if you say show, how many versionings here? Two versioning. First thing is null because you haven't really enabled versioning here that time, but you have enabled versioning now. This is the latest version. If you want to download the latest version, so you can click here and then download. That's it. So mostly what happened, right? When you are keeping any log data, mostly today log data logs are created with the date, right? Today date. Whenever you are keep uploading the log data and every hour, so that time, even though you can manipulate the name programmatically, but I'm just giving an example. So you can actually every hour upload the data into S3 bucket. So if you enable versioning, it creates versioning. And also maybe log files not the right example for versioning. Maybe end of the day you use upload for log files. If you have a code that you are uploading a Python file and your developers are accessing it, and every time that you are writing some part of extension to the code, and then when you're keeping the code inside with it, so you should take the latest version and you should not um, be overwriting. Let's say you have the previous copy is working and the latest copy is not working, then how do you actually go to the previous copy? So here now you can also download this. You can download any version now. So this is how you do versioning. The same way I go disable versioning. I've disabled the versioning now. See here, now show hide still there. You have that versioning. Now what I'll do is I'll upload the same error.html again. See here, do you see null here, guys? Because I've disabled the versioning, we've got again it shown null. So it hasn't really created any versioning ID because the bucket is been now. Okay, one second. Sometimes these things do. One second, sorry. So these things, right? Good. But I'm sure that it is working. So this is showing null. If we would have got this enabled, right? So what would have happened again? It will give us versioning ID. Okay. So this is how we actually go about it. And if you want to encrypt, you can come here encrypt. So you can do pretty much these things. And there is also something called I've made. Okay, if you there is some concept called multi-part upload. See, okay, the maximum file that you can upload into S3 bucket is 5 terabyte. So you can have an biggest object as 5 terabyte into bucket. So it is not that the maximum size of the bucket. So maximum size of the bucket can be anything. I don't really know any extended, I mean, any limit on that. But the maximum uh, object within the bucket, let's say index.html is a file which is 2 KB. If you come here, index.html is 2 KB. The same way it is 2 KB, right? It is some thousandth percentage of a MB or something. The same way, uh, you can have one object with the size of 5 terabyte, 5 TB. Okay, when you are uploading the 5 TB, right, sometimes you may have internet breakage. Let's say in the process of uploading, let's say you have internet breaks, then you may have to re-upload anything. Just for the sake of it, you have multi-part upload. How multi-part upload works is this way: if you have any file which is larger than sorry, less than 5 TB and more than 100 MB, 100 MB itself is a big file. So whenever you are dealing with that, there is something called multi-part upload. What Amazon does is, these things you can do it through CLI or through API. What it does is, it itself splits the file into little pieces, and then uploads all files into all the splits into S3. And then it by default, it takes care of re-enabling it. It has some checksum file and other things. It will internally takes care everything is okay. Again, let's say you have missed this part or this part or this part, or maybe everything is uploaded, only this part is pending. It will wait till that time. You don't really have to re-upload everything. You may have to take care only of this. So these things do happen parallelly, I mean programmatically. So this is a good thing. All these little small pieces will be uploaded parallelly. And see here, like this is original object, and delineated into parts. This will make parts of it, and these parts will be uploaded all together. And once it is uploaded, it will reassemble everything. This is the very big thing. So we've created a bucket, we've added a file and folder, moved file, change permission, remove files, versioning, yes, we've done overwriting or not, and then we've enabled versioning, hide show button, show different version IDs, and we played with versioning. And static website hosting, yes, we've actually made some static website hosting. And this is what URL I gave you, you said it is working. And there's something called life cycle transition. Okay, let me show you. So okay, you have a bucket here, right? This bucket, you can store data, but let's say you have some log files which is 6 months old, where you don't even see it, but you still wanted to keep it. So maybe 45 days old logs. So unless and until there is an issue, you don't actually go to that files, but those files are really important for you. You don't want to have that frequent access or infrequent access. You may want to keep into some vault or locker, and then open whenever you want. For that, there is something called uh, Glacier. Okay, a service called Glacier, archive storage in the cloud. So what it does is, it will create vault. So like you have a buckets created in S3, you can create a vault inside that, and you can set data retrieve policies and set notifications. So this is like a cheap, very cheap and durable storage and secure storage. And in S3, you can achieve 99.9999% durability. That means very minor chance of losing the data. So you will not be losing the data. So because they will they cannot give 100%, they should say 99.9999. So the same way, once you uploaded a data into S3 bucket, you want to put some 30 days or historical data into Glacier, you can do it. So for the same thing, S3, so you have this bucket, and you go to management, add lifecycle rule. Okay, once you add lifecycle here, my rule name, anything like 30 days. I'm writing 30 days. After add filter limit scope to prefix tags. Like see, if you have a file, right? Anything which is prefixed with I or something, I slash, or you can write anything, anything which is prefixed by, let's say, any file which I am putting into S3 bucket. If that could come from different applications, so I tend to write a tag for that particular files as that application name, something like that. If there is a file called um, Waitrose. Waitrose has an application which is coming into this. I will add a default name Waitrose, prefix that. The same way Waitrose, something like that. So and I can put that prefix Waitrose, enter, and then next, current version, previous versions. So you can select that. See after how many days? I'll say 45 days, and then next 30 days, Waitrose, transition, expiration, permanent delete, and then I save it, right? Something like that. You can set life cycle, and you can enable, disable life cycle. If you have multiple life cycles, you can select the particular life cycle and then disable. When you click disable, obviously it won't work. And I've also recently heard that there is something called time to live. When you have time to live, you will be deciding how long it will be living it. So you guys have any questions before I delete the bucket, guys? Yes or no? Hello?
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna delete now. 1 second. I'm gonna click here, and then empty bucket will actually empty the bucket. And earlier when the first Amazon have that S3, you will have to empty the bucket first to delete it. And to delete, you should enter the name, because they don't want to accidentally get your bucket deleted. So delete bucket, it will ask your name. So you will have to enter Pavan, Aleti, AWS class. If I confirm, so that's deleted. Earlier you will have to empty the bucket before deleting it. So this is all about S3. Okay, now the next chapter that we wanted to cover is DynamoDB. Okay, just like you have a lot of databases, right? So we have two types of databases. One is SQL database and one is no SQL database. Okay, so let me just no SQL database. So you can basically, SQL database is nothing but structured query language, and no SQL database is nothing but there is no structure for the data. So like we have Narendra and Jay also an SQL developer, right? Right, Jay?
Yes, Pawan. Yeah.
So okay, so if you want to have a structured data, obviously you will have a schema first, right? You'll have to know how many number of columns you should have, and then you decide the rows. Like if it is a student name, student ID, you will make a primary key, and then after your table grows for 1 GB, 2 GB, 3 GB size, the performance slightly reduces, right, based on the size of it. Let's say it goes to 10 GB, slightly it will be delayed to get the response, right?
Yeah.
And
That's true.
again,
Yeah.
whenever you want to let's say you want to add a column, let's say you maintain a table for 1 year, you want to add a column, so extra column, because the requirement changed. What do you guys need to do? So do you tell it to DBA to, so they will actually take a backup of that particular table, and then they backup
They
of
will
the
add other.
Yeah, they will again remove the table. Maybe they again add another column into table, again re-upload the data into that particular table, right?
Yes, Pavan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so the again this is all managed. You will have to manage your operating system, you'll have to manage your RAM, data, everything. Anything goes wrong, you'll have to take care. This is SQL. So but NoSQL is something um, if you want to have a large data which is like petabyte, not even terabyte. If you have a petabyte, it can handle milliseconds. Within milliseconds you can able to read and you can able to write. And also you don't really have to take your things offline. So let's say you want to add sizes, right? You want to have a large data, or you want to have throughput, you want to have a read and writes more number of kbs. Anything is online. Today your application is slow, you can increase the throughput, you can increase the read and write capacity, just like online hot swappable. So you don't really have to take any database down or anything down, and it is all fully managed by default. If you create a table, it will be replicated automatically into three regions, sorry, three availability zones. Even two availability zones goes down, it takes care of giving you data. Your data is still accessible. So you will have, and every table and every row in SQL should have the data, and it will have the same columns. That means every row within the SQL table will have same number of columns, and maybe different data but same columns. But NoSQL is completely different. So that if no fixed schema, when you create a DynamoDB table, right, there is no fixed schema. You actually create your own schema. So you can have different types. So very very big example, and the best thing about DynamoDB is, say let's say you can create a table, right, and you can have different columns in that particular table, and be noted, it is very very fast in retrieving. It will give you the data in milliseconds. And AWS do claim, saying that it is the fastest NoSQL database on cloud. And also every row is called as an item. In DynamoDB, every row is called as an item, every column is called as attribute. So every row is called as what, guys?
Item.
Yeah, every column is called as attribute. Okay, so again in DynamoDB, let me just see if I, okay, so these are all the companies are using, and these are all the use cases that you have available on AWS side. It's very very fast and flexible NoSQL, and single digit millisecond at any scale. Just like that you can do. Amazon claims this is the fastest. And there is something called partition key, which and sort key here. Okay, and partition key is called as hash key, sort key is called as range key. So in our we have primary key, and then and you have some relationships, right, within the SQL. The similar way, you will have something called partition key, primary key. You can have a primary key within DynamoDB, or else you can also have a combination of two keys as a primary key. So first key is called as partition key, second key called as sort key. I will be anyways will be doing practicals, no worries. So just like this, you will have a custom data, and you will have a three availability zones. This data what you putting into DynamoDB will be scaled across three availability zones. Even two availability zones physically goes down, they still have that replica of your database. And AWS will be very very effective in working with pipeline. This is another service which I will give you brief theory about it at the end of our sessions. Redshift is nothing but your what is that, big data applications, right? Informatica, data warehousing applications. This is EMR, elastic map reduce. This is nothing but Hadoop thing. And here S3. which we are used learn now, right? It in conjunction with these tools, it will work very fast. And see, by default it goes into availability zones. But let's say you have an application which is in another region, and you have another server in another region. You want to have cross region replication. You can also do it. There is some what is that content available on the internet. You can actually go ahead and see it. Cross region replication is also available. So DynamoDB, right? So this is what we've already discussed. So this is like this is a table, and a row is called as an item, column is called an attribute. So primary key or partition key is called as hash key, and sort key is also called as range key. But remember, if you don't have range key, this is a primary key. Hash key will act as primary key, but it has to be unique. So you cannot add if you add id as 1 here, you cannot add id again as 1 here. But let's say you have added a sort key or range key, you can have one or same data in all here, but you should have different here. So the combination of these two will become primary key. So you can have a same data here or same data here, but both together combined, it should not have same data, which we will be discussing. So don't really have to think about anything. Okay, see here. So this is the example that I want to tell you. 1 2 But see here, they have album id here, they have album track id, movie id, something like that. We will be seeing it, no problem. DynamoDB partitioning and throttling. Okay, see, DynamoDB will not be charged for your instance size or memory size or CPU size. It will be rated, or it will be charged based on your read per unit and write per unit. Their reading and writing per unit is nothing but a second. If you want to read per 5 KB, if you want to read, you will have a different charge. If if your application wants to read 10 KB per second, so that depends on how fast and what your application does. Okay, based on that there will be a calculator, and it will decide how much monthly charges you will be applied. Okay, and there is something called partitioning. This partitioning, you will not be doing it. Partitioning will be done by default AWS. So this is a partition formula. So the number of partition decides on this. So per partition, number of number of read units per number of reads by 3000 plus number of writes by 1000 is number of partitions. This is how you actually do it. And the number of partitions may also vary on the size of so you just remember this is a theory concept. This should sit in your brain. That is why I'm discussing it, else I wouldn't have. So see here, but just to explain you, right, a partition can support maximum of 3000 RCUs or 1000 writes. Let's say if you have an application with 3000 reads, then you should create a separate partition. You should have a separate partition. So let's say read capacity units by 3000, write capacity units by 1000 equal to partitions. The same way, let's say example, you have a 5500 reads and 1500 for writes for your application. How do you actually have a number of partitions defined? See, 5500 by 3000, like here, and 1500 by 1000 equal to 3.33. So anything after point will become another partition. So you will have a 4 partitions created, and each partition will be able to handle like this. So this will be equally distributed among this partition. So this is one thing that you should consider. And second thing is the amount of data. So one partition can maximum hold 10 GB. Let's say if you have a 45 GB, right? If you have 45 GB, 45 by 10, it will become 4.5. 4.5 0.5 because for it is more than 4, it will create another partition and it will be spread across. So finally it will become something like this. If you have an application with this read and writes and it has 45 GB data, you will have 5 partitions totally. So don't ask me why. So that is how Amazon defined it. Very high throughput. You can scale throughput if you want. Let's say you have created table with 5 KB reads, 10 KB writes. You can scale it just like that and online. So there is no problem with it. You don't. There is no downtime for that. So this is DynamoDB. So I've just went to services and clicked on DynamoDB. There is nothing at the moment. So that is why it is actually showing this way. Create table. So see, you will not have any data here. I mean, you will not have any application or something. This is like your application. You directly create tables and write data into it. And you can also access any of the service within the AWS through API, through CLI, and there is SDK like Python Boto, and also through console. Table name, I'm giving it as tuition. Tuition. I'm partition key, I'm giving it as TID, and sort key. See, if you don't add sort key, right, this partition key will act as primary key, and you cannot add same data for TID. But I wanted to show you the sort key also. So sort key, I'm making sort key as class. Okay, what class is that? What subject is that? Or subject? Let me put it subject. And see, anything can be three of these things can be 3 data types. Can be string, binary, number. Obviously, TID should be number. I'm changing it to number here. So as I told you, it will not be charged for the size of the instance, or it will not be charged for the memory, or it will not be charged for anything. It will be charged only for the read and write per unit, because I don't want to go with default settings. This is you can add index. I will be talking about index in a while. So this, if you see here, 5 read and writes by default, but table will be given 5 reads and 5 writes. Okay, but we will not be changing it, but we will just see how that actually changes. Now the charge is 3.45. So if I have one read, right, one read and one write, so it will be 0.69 per month, 1 KB per second, 1 KB per second writing. See, there is something called eventually consistent and strongly consistent in reading. Okay, eventually consistent. See, we've discussed already that it is a single digit millisecond response. It is very fast in retrieval. So if your application is if your application can wait 2 seconds or 1 second or more than a more than single digit millisecond. So if your application really can wait for 1 second or 2 seconds to get everything reflected, you can go with eventually consistent. But your application is very fast, and it always wanted to make sure it has the right data. That means, let's say you already put an item, right, you already put a row or item into your table. Whenever you are reading it and you are immediately reading, immediately within milliseconds you are reading after writing, then you should go with strongly consistent. If you are if you are after writing into your after you created an item or after writing into DynamoDB table, your application is at least waiting a second or 2 seconds to read it. That time you can keep eventually consistent. And the price also different. See here, one eventually two eventually consistent. See here the rate 0.69, right? If I put 2 here and it is eventually consistent, the rate doesn't change. But 2 KB, and if I put strongly consistent, it is changing, right? So one event two one strongly consistent equal to two eventually consistent. And again, see, reading is obviously little cheaper than writing. See here, so I've changed from 1 to 2. It changed 69 to 81. Let me change here 1 to 2, and you focus on here the price. See here 138. It's almost doubled. So the reading is cheap and writing is always cost, because writing uh, uses your CPU inside the data center. It also uses a disk, and they will have to maintain that replications throughout the zones, availability zones. So the same way reading is, it's already there lying, so you may use CPU to read it. Okay, so I'm keeping it to 5 and then CPU utilization, read capacity, write capacity. You can actually define these things. For everything you should have an IAM role, right? You can create IAM role by giving full permissions to access this DynamoDB, or else you can create new DynamoDB role. At the moment I'm just giving create here. So it takes little while to create a table. We will just wait, or we will just okay, I think the table is created now. The overview, see here, primary partition key is TID number, sort key is subject. So this is what it is saying, time to live. So you can also put time to live. If you put time to live is, let's say if you put 30 days at time to live to one item or one attribute, after 30 days by automatically it will be deleted. So everything you can see, it's showing London, it's showing the time that it has created now, and the items is nothing but rows. We will be creating it. Metrics is CloudWatch metrics. CloudWatch is, we will have a session discussed about it. It is a monitoring tool. If you want to monitor within any service within AWS, you can do it. It will show you how many reads do happen, how many writes do happen. These details it will show you. Alarms, right? Let's say after you put an item or a attribute into the table, based on that some webhook or something should trigger. You can create an CloudWatch alarm. So it will call some webhook and then it will go call that API. Capacity is what we've actually defined. So like I told you, you can change it here again. You can change it here, and you can change it here. That is what I'm saying. So you can change and save. It will be changed, but we're not going to change. Okay, indexes, right? So let's say, right, how many types of queries that you make on your particular table. So you can always make a separate index and keep it, so that it will make a fast retrievals your table. So there is something called LSI and global GSI, local secondary index and global secondary index. So that is something to do with your partition key and sort key. We will get spoken about, I mean we'll have a little discussion later point. So trigger, if let's say after this created you want to have something executed, you have something called lambda function that will be taken care. So lambda function is some other service, and tags you create in any tag again. So now let's get into items. We are creating item now. So it is like adding a row into a table. When you're creating item, two things you must give is TID and subject. I'm giving one here, AWS here, right? And append string topic DynamoDB, and this is what I'm adding, right? Now I gave one and AWS. Let me add another item. One, let's DevOps topic. Topic should be CI, continuous integration. Age, okay, name Pavan. Okay, see here. So in this particular row, right, in this particular item, I've changed the I've added separate attribute which is column, but it doesn't have, this row doesn't have. This is a very powerful feature which DynamoDB support. And if you see TID, you will have the same data, but this both combination should not give. I cannot add on any other row, any other item with one DevOps or one AWS. Let me try with that. One and AWS. Location London. Does it save or doesn't? Does it allow to save? Guys, can you respond, guys, quickly? Hello. It should not. Okay. So see here, because one and AWS combination will become uh, primary key. So now respond me. Does it allow? Does it allow? It will not be
No.
allowed because it's already created. You should create something else. See here. So location is when you retrieve this, right? You will not be shown these two attributes. When you retrieve this particular row or item, it has only three attributes: TID, subject, and location. But when you retrieve this, it will have subject, topic, name, and TID. Four. It will not have location. So you can have different combinations of the data. This is very powerful. So now let's discuss about how to query. There is something called scan and query. Okay, scan is you can search based on anything. You can search based on your partition key, sort key, or any attribute in such case. So if it is query, right, you should enter primary key, partition key, and hash key and range key, primary key and sort key. Let me show you how that works. I'm clicking scan here and then adding a filter. If I add a filter, right, it is asking me attribute name. I can enter subject string equal to DevOps, and if I start search, nothing will show because it is by default it is taken as uppercase. Now see here, now are you able to see it? But if I give TID, and these are all case sensitive, this filter, okay, and number, and if I give 1, how many should show us, guys?
3.
Okay, so like that. And you can pretty much and you can also name it is string Pavan, show only 1. So this is scanning is nothing but it scans all the table, but every time, see, now you have only 3 items. You will have petabytes of data which can grow billions of lines, or 10 million, 5 million lines, which is huge data. So that time scanning does, because you're searching attribute, it will scan through each and every part of your data. So that is not effective. That is why you go ahead with indexes. In index, what happen in local index, you can use your primary key, something like that. I didn't really, I'll speak about it sometime later, but again,
The,
yeah.
there's a one restriction, Pavan, because we are using a DynamoDB.
Yeah,
We can only use only up to 5
yeah,
indexes.
right,
That
right,
is a
right. Yes, yes,
minimum.
yes. 5 indexes for local and 5 indexes for global.
Yes, Pavan.
Yeah, so that I know. So that is limitation. And also there is something called local uh, uh, local secondary index and global secondary index. There is slightly little differentiation between that. So that is what I kept it as pending, so I didn't write it. Actually, I thought of writing it for you, so that I didn't write it, but I have
No.
got information put together. So this is query. So this is, if you have scan, it is scanning through all the table. If it is query, you must know your primary, partition key, sort key, which is hash key and range key, to search it. So if I put 1 here and if I put AWS here, so it will show like that. So this is you should have primary key and sort key known to you to have that and let me show you GSI and LSI DynamoDB. So there is because you deal with, see, I'll discuss that with you. That's not a big deal. Okay.
Oh,
So that index concept also little important. So that is it. So you can create alarms like I told you. Anyways, I'll be going at, so these indexes, right? See, for fast retrievals, let's say your application needs some kind of index. So your database table is huge. So if you have a 5 indexes, it'll be like a sub table or something, a subset of your data. So you can have a quick reference to it, and then you can get the data. So based on some combinations of partition key and sort key and global secondary indexes, can also use attribute or so it's like this. So now you have, now let me go to here, now DynamoDB. So now you have items here 3, right? So basically that indexing is nothing but, now you have a hard primary key as partition key and secondary key. In local local secondary index, you still have to use same primary key, same partition key, but I think sort key can be changed. But it is a global secondary index. You can actually put any of this particular attribute as combination, and then create your own set of representation of data. So that time what happens, it can be quickly consumed and can be accessed or can be computed with any other application. So that way, even though you have a petabyte data, based on these combinations of your attributes, partition key, sort key, you will make a different view of the table. So that time you will have a different subset of data that you can quickly access. That is really useful for fast accessing of data. So this is the plan that I have for today, but I can still take RDS class if you guys want to. RDS class, what I'm going to discuss is we will have a MySQL, we will spin a MySQL and we'll talk about the concept of RDS, and we will also create one database, and we will access it through our what is that? Workbench, MySQL workbench, that is actually client for accessing the DB. And also we will actually create a EC2 instance. There we will install MySQL client package. From there we will access that. It's like we will be able to see accessing the data, accessing the database from Linux machine and Windows machine. That is what we're gonna cover in RDS. So are you guys want to practice whatever been completed? Because we know now how to actually create a table, and like I said, in capacity you can go change it here and then click on update. It will create, it will update. But I think there is some auto scaling is enabled, that is why it is not actually creating, I mean not actually updating. So now I'm deleting it. This is how you delete it. And once you delete, and if you come to DynamoDB again, you should not have anything. So this is how you delete a DynamoDB table.